Hey everyone! I hope you've had a chance to check out the first two videos of this series. A couple of weeks ago, we started looking at the I am statements of Jesus. We find them in the Gospel according to John. If you've ever wondered why the Bible has 4 Gospels, one reason is because each one looks at Jesus a little bit differently. Now I want to take you way back to the Old Testament. There's this story about a guy named Moses. He has this really weird encounter with God. Moses is out in the wilderness and he sees this bush that is on fire, but it is not burning up. And that kind of catches his attention, right? So it turns out when he goes to look closer that the Spirit of God in that moment is in the bush. And God talks to Moses. Now, if you know about Moses, he's that guy who eventually led the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt. He's kind of a big deal for Christians and Jewish people. Anyway, when God tells Moses to do this, Moses is like, who should I tell them sent me? And God answers, tell them, I am sent you. I am. The language that's in the Hebrew actually translates something like, I am that I am, or the one who is, or the one through which everything exists. So fast forward to Jesus and the Gospel of John, and this I am phrase is no accident. That much becomes really, really clear in the text between last week's I am the light for the world and this week's I am the gate for the sheep. So at this point, the gospel writer is describing this constant debate. Well, let's call it what it really is. It's an argument with the religious leaders. Just like in Christianity and really every faith now, religious leaders and groups of people tend to belong to certain groups according to their particular beliefs. And most of the time, the group that Jesus is arguing with is the Pharisees. Now, they get a pretty bad reputation in the Gospels, especially in the Gospel according to John. But actually, these were the teachers and leaders whose beliefs would have been closest to what Jesus believed and taught. And that's part of why this is so intense. Anyway, Jesus and the religious leaders get into this argument about what it means to be children of Abraham. Ultimately, Jesus makes this bold claim to be greater than Abraham. Abraham, greater than the ancestor, the guy that everything goes back to for the Jewish people and their faith. He even indicates that he knows Abraham. He talks about it in the present tense. I know, right? Jesus was a 30-something in this passage, and Abraham was an ancient ancestor. It would kind of be like me saying, hey, I knew Lucy. At the end of this argument, Jesus tells them, before Abraham was, I am. Yeah, think about that. I'm telling you about this so you can see 2 things. First, these I am statements are a play on words. They are a literary device. John is using these to get people's attention, and he knows that it's going to grab them and make them pay attention. And the second thing is, the reason the religious leaders were so incredibly upset with Jesus is because not only do the crowds already think of him as not just a prophet, but a great prophet, but he just basically put his cards on the table and said, I am God. So all that led up to another one of these I am statements that we'll look at this week briefly. So after that argument about Abraham, Jesus heals a blind guy, which ends up being this huge, big controversy. And again, Jesus is talking with the religious leaders. This time he's talking about sheep and shepherds. In chapter 10, verses 7 through 10, Jesus calls himself the gate for the sheep. So maybe you can put the pieces together here. Calling himself bread from heaven and light for the world are kind of weird, but this takes guts. What do you think he's telling them about who he is? Well, for one thing, Jesus often described God's people as sheep. And here he's pretty much saying, look, the people are right. They get it. They follow me because I'm the real deal. If anyone wants to be with God, to truly follow God, they're going to have to come through me. And if you're not going to come through me, if you're not going to use the door, well, think about it. Who doesn't use the door? Thieves. So hey, there's something to think about this week. Just a little something. If this is something that for you kind of sticks with you and gets into your mind a little bit, I really want to encourage you to journal about it. This is kind of a big question or a thing that people of the Christian faith and other faiths, as they've interacted with Christians, this is something we've had to grapple with for a long time. What does this mean? What do we do with this? What does it mean for Jesus to be the gate, the door? What is your gut reaction to that? So I would encourage you to journal, or if you are comfortable, talk about it with your parents or your grandparents or any adult that you trust. Pray about it. Let God's Spirit help this to settle into your mind and your heart. And you know, I would love to hear or read your thoughts on this. So feel free to reply in the comments or send me a message. That's all I've got this week. I'll see you next time, and we'll look a little more about Jesus as the shepherd. Bye.